With at least 40 mass shootings in the U.S. so far this year, the Secret Service is now trying to teach communities how to prevent the next attack. The agency, best known for protecting presidents, has just released a new report on mass attacks in public places, examining data over a 5-year period. And one of the key findings, 1/4 of mass attackers are driven by conspiracy theories and hateful ideologies. Joining us now, NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley. Julia, what more does this report reveal?
Well, one thing, Mika, I was just so struck by Kate's report because this report looks at mass shootings or really any attacks with any weapon that injured 3 or more people in a public space between 2016 and 2020. And they counted 173 attacks. That is far fewer than one per day over those 5 years. And now Kate's reporting is showing that we've had more of these kind of events than days so far in 2023. So first, just wanted to put that in perspective. But their findings looking at these 5 years showed that hateful ideologies or conspiracy theories, whether that be anti-Semitism, anti-government, misogyny, or racism, drove perpetrators of mass attacks for at least 1/4 of the attacks over that time period. And we know that since 2020, a lot of those hateful ideologies and the hate speech online has just grown, as well as those conspiracy theories. The other thing they found, though, is that the primary driver, the primary motivator for attackers was just personal grievances, something with a workplace. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe they lost a romantic relationship. And I spoke to the expert, Dr. Lina Alathari at the Secret Service, who runs their National Threat Assessment Center, about what you can do to prevent people with personal grievances. People have had personal grievances since the beginning of time. And she basically said, look, there's no way to just fix this. There's no perfect red flag. There's no if this, then this will happen. But basically, they're trying to alert communities, whether that's law enforcement, mental health, social workers, all the way down to teachers or maybe just, roommates, like you saw in this case, to look out for key signs. If someone might be planning an attack, they found that 1/3 of the attackers actually had plenty of evidence showing they were planning the attack, to look out for people withdrawing and to try to spot signs in your communities and to get resources to people before they carry out these terrible attacks. They also looked at weapons, Mika, and they found that obviously the vast majority of these cases, over 120 of those 173 attacks, were using firearms, and that 1/3 of those used long guns, which we would consider semi-automatic or automatic guns. And of course, they were more successful when they used guns. They had at least more than 80% fatality rate when they used guns. When they used other weapons like knives, it was less than 50% chance that someone would be killed. So a lot of questions for communities here, as well as policymakers in Washington.
Good morning, Julia. This is Eddie Glaude. I mean, this is such an important story, and especially given what we saw in Monterey Park, where Tran, I believe, had issues with his ex-wife, and so there was some domestic issues there. But what do we do with the broader kind of cultural malaise that seems to surround this? It seems to me that it cuts much deeper, and how do we address that? I mean, of course, note the signs, but how do we address the kind of cultural crisis that it seems that we find ourselves in that sets the stage for such mass murder?
I asked that very question. Are we sicker now as a society than we used to be? And I guess the glimmer of hope here is that there are more than 20,000 people today who are watching the Secret Service present an online report on their studies, something that they said that, about fewer than 10,000 people would have tuned into something like this years ago. But there's so much interest or so much worry from people in their communities, whether they be law enforcement officers or teachers, that they want to look out for these signs. So there's at least hope there that there are enough concerned citizens that want to do something about this. Whether or not there are key steps that can be taken, I think that's a harder question.
NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley, thank you very much for your reporting this morning.